This podcast is brought to you by Visit.ai.
We're jumping straight into the heart of a conversation from our friends over at the Spur of the Moment podcast, specifically their season finale episode.
That's right. We've gone through that episode, which was a deep dive in itself, focusing heavily on superhero movies, the Fox X-Men universe, the Deadpool films, the new Deadpool and Wolverine, and also touching on some other trailers and news.
Yeah, and our mission here is basically to pull out the most interesting insights, the strongest reactions, and the core opinions they shared. We're here to give you the distilled essence, cutting through the noise to help you quickly grasp what they felt was most important and surprising in these sources.
Okay, let's unpack this then.
So, kicking things off, the conversation started with some quick takes on what's happening in the DC universe. There was some surprising optimism, actually. Mentioned that the upcoming Superman movie looks like it could actually be pretty good.
Which is interesting because that was immediately followed by a strong comparison. The feeling that some recent DC output feels like a repeat of the Suicide Squad.
Right.
Not the James Gunn one everyone loved, but the 2021 version, where that character, Weasel, just dies immediately.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like a humorous way of saying, what are they doing?
Totally. And that led into a pretty sharp opinion about James Gunn himself. The take was he's better when he's restrained by PG to PG-13 rating. The argument being his humor can get a bit much in R-rated projects, making characters seem like borderline stupid.
Interesting point. But it wasn't all negative on DC, was it?
No, not at all. They gave significant praise to the Peacemaker show. Felt it really evens out after the first few episodes and becomes genuinely good.
Right. It sounds like that show really hit the mark for them. In fact, hearing them talk, it actually sparked an idea for them to maybe do a future chat just on DC stuff people might have missed.
Yeah, like highlighting shows like Doom Patrol or getting people to rewatch The Suicide Squad, The Good One, and Peacemaker.
Makes sense. Okay, so beyond DC, they touched on a few trailers. The new Transformers one got a brief mention, heading in a different kind of direction, apparently.
But the real juicy bit was the Joker 2 trailer reaction.
Oh, yeah. The immediate, almost like visceral reaction was that there just shouldn't be one.
Right. And that it just looked like more of the first movie, but without a clear reason,
And the big kicker, the soft reveal in the trailer.
That it's a musical. Yeah, they noted hearing Joaquin Phoenix singing, which felt, kind of jarring, didn't it? Considering the first film was all about being realistic.
Exactly. How do you go from gritty realism to a musical? It's a choice. They also got into Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn and her origin.
Yeah, and the speakers, they kind of preferred a subversion. Like maybe she's just another inmate at the asylum, a bad influence,
Right, rather than a big sympathetic origin story or, God forbid, it all being a dream.
That felt like a missed opportunity for them, that subversion idea.
Gotcha. What else in the news? There was a Doctor Who thing?
Yeah, spin-off announcement. Landed with a bit of a thud. One host felt it doesn't sound very interesting, maybe linked to how they felt about the main show's finale.
And She-Hulk. Season 2 update.
Uh-huh. The producer sounded uncertain about its return, and that kind of resonated with the hosts. The feeling that, maybe some characters just don't need their own thing. What more is there to say?
Fair point. And finally, that Marvel DC crossover buzz.
Right, yeah. Kevin Feige saying it's not off the table, and one of the hosts admitted they'd kind of given that nugget away earlier in their own episode. Whoops.
Okay. So that initial flurry set the stage. But the main event for their episode and for us now was definitely Deadpool. Let's dive into the history they covered, starting way back.
Okay, so technically the first Deadpool movie appearance wasn't really a movie. It was that animated short, Hulk versus Wolverine.
Right. They called it barely a movie. Not really about Deadpool, more Wolverine's perspective. Nolan North did the voice, right?
Wow.
Like the video game.
Exactly. And the key thing they noted was this Deadpool was not self-aware. No fourth wall breaking, which is like the Deadpool thing now.
Yeah, totally different vibe. Felt very straight to DVD. Fun, but not essential.
Then came the big one, the first live-action Deadpool in 2016. And they gave massive props to Ryan Reynolds. Said he fought to get that bitch made.
He really did, and the praise for the movie itself was pretty high, wasn't it? How it did a lot with a little.
Totally. They pointed out the Vancouver setting, the Granville Street Aqueduct area, and how even with just 2 X-Men Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, it makes you feel an emotional attachment to them.
And Dopinder. the taxi driver. Got singled out for having some of the funniest shit.
Oh, yeah. Weasel, T.J. Miller's character, got a mention too, but his absence in the third movie wasn't exactly mourned, it seemed.
Huh. Specific jokes got nods, like the avocado line. Classic.
And the origin story, they thought it was handled fantastically, didn't feel like, oh, just another origin.
Right. And the joke about Ryan Reynolds looking like a Shar-Pei mixed with Ryan Reynolds tied into the comics, apparently.
Uh-huh. Action sequences. Well done, they said, and getting better as the movies go on.
They saw the first movie as almost a parody of big movies, maybe taking a jab at those early kind of bare-bones X-Men films.
And here's a key takeaway from their chat. They argued the first Deadpool might still be the best one.
Because it's simpler.
Exactly, not overly complicated, the simplest of all three. And crucially, you don't need to get every single pop culture reference to find it funny. The relationship stuff, the heart of it, works on its own.
Yeah, that makes sense. It felt really focused. Okay, so moving to Deadpool 2. The consensus was what? The worst one.
Yeah, worst one compared to the others, though they stopped short of calling it outright bad. Just, weaker.
And why was that?
Main criticism. It felt too much like an X-Men movie, trying to juggle 5 different ideas at once, and repeating Deadpool's emotional arc being all whiny and pining over Vanessa. It didn't work as well the second time, especially after.
After they killed her off.
Yeah.
They called that outright the fridging.
Exactly. Killing the girlfriend just to motivate the hero. They even brainstormed other ideas, like maybe conflict over having a kid, or the danger of his life, or his crappy childhood, stuff that might have felt, less like a retread.
And the whole Wade Wilson unmasked versus Deadpool masked thing.
Yeah, that felt like a problem too. When he's Wade unmasked, he's kind of a weird bummer. But as Deadpool, he's cartoony and jokey. That balance felt off when he spent too much time as Wade.
Gotcha. But Josh Brolin, as Cable, got some praise.
Oh, yeah. Quite a good Cable, they said. And a little trivia. Only 2 characters from this movie apparently return in the third one.
Interesting. So a bigger picture issue with Deadpool 2 was
that it kind of suffered from entering the Marvel machine formula, lost that unique feel, that reverence the first one had, tried too hard to be a standard team-up flick.
Right. And they debated if you even need to see it for the new movie.
Yeah, there was a split. One argument was, yes, you need it for the Vanessa relationship payoff, but then the counter was that payoff feels kind of hollow in the new movie anyway, like it rushes past it, cut out the middle bit of that journey.
Okay. And they briefly mentioned that canceled Donald Glover animated show.
Uh-huh. And how they tried to leak an animatic, just like they did with the test footage for the first movie, didn't quite work out that time.
Okay, history lesson complete. Let's get to the main event, the new film.
Yeah.
And they were very clear on the title.
Yes. Deadpool and Wolverine. Get it right.
So initial non-spoiler thoughts. Sounded pretty positive overall.
Very positive, yeah. The vibe was very good. Like, the movie knows that you want it to wear the hat. It wears the hat with pride. Basically, it gives the people what they want.
And its role within the MCU.
Yeah.
How do they see that?
As Deadpool being in the MCU, making fun of it, actively poking fun at it, working the machine like it's a puppet.
Which contrasts with Deadpool 2.
Exactly. That's why they felt 2 was weaker. It leaned into the Fox universe, which they argued wasn't generally good. This new one uses the MCU framework, the puppetry, specifically to make fun of the MCU itself.
So even when it got complicated or exposition heavy?
They saw it as deliberate. Part of the joke, like characters explaining shit, was meant to be funny because it's mocking that MCU tendency, and apparently it worked for them.
High praise for the opening credits, too.
Called them phenomenal. And the action sequences, Sean Levy directing, huge thumbs up, described as fucking clean, beautiful, bloody, and crucially, you see everything.
Nice. Any concerns mentioned?
Just a potential one, maybe about overusing the character down the line, perhaps why there was a gap between films.
Right. Okay, listener, heads up. Just like the Source podcast did, we're shifting gears now. We're heading into spoiler territory for Deadpool and Wolverine. So if you haven't seen it yet, consider this your warning. Earmuffs time, as they put it.
Okay, assuming you're cool with spoilers, let's dive in. The opening scene, fighting with Logan's corpse, sets the tone immediately, as they said. How do you not desecrate Logan? You don't.
And a fourth wall breaking.
Oh, yeah. They felt the movie fully leaned into it more than the two previous films combined, just completely demolishing that wall.
And the setting, the wasteland, the void.
Loved it. Great meta-commentary on how the Fox universe is dead, seeing the actual Fox logo rotting there. Hilarious. They even brought up the aging thing, like Xavier's sister growing up there, proving some time passes somehow.
Okay, cameos. This seemed like a big highlight. Chris Evans is Johnny Storm.
Total surprise. Did not see that coming. Apparently, completely got one of the hosts.
Who else? Elektra, Blade.
Yep.
Elektra, Wesley Snipes as Blade, which they found interesting given his past reputation, but they praised his appearance here. And Channing Tatum as Gambit, phenomenal.
So it wasn't just random cameos.
No, they framed it as, this is what you missed, showcasing characters the Fox universe kind of wasted or underdeveloped.
Kind of like the Illuminati in Multiverse of Madness or the villains in No Way Home.
Yeah, similar vibe.
Yeah.
But the Wesley Snipes Blade comparison was interesting, thinking about, difficult actors but still delivering for the fans.
And they compared the action within that cameo sequence.
Fascinating point, yeah. Blade and Elektra's fights felt shaky, weirdly shot, maybe to hide the fact that they're very definitely old and they're very definitely struggling.
Ouch.
But then Gambit, in the same sequence, looked phenomenal, really stark contrast.
What about the Deadpool core? Lady Deadpool, Dogpool?
Yep, all there. Lady Deadpool was apparently in a trailer, so one host kind of spoiled that for themselves. And the joke about Peter showing up in a Deadpool suit.
And the idea that maybe in one universe, Deadpool is Peter. That got a laugh.
But a slight criticism about the other Deadpools.
Yeah, a bit of a letdown that they didn't break the fourth wall really at all. More like visual gags than actual characters sharing Wade's thing.
Gotcha. And the different Wolverines montage. Henry Cavill. What?
Mention Cavill sparked some chatter about him maybe being the MCU Wolverine, though Daniel Radcliffe was also floated as a fan favorite.
Okay, circling back to the plot. The movie tells you that you don't need the old films,
But the hosts disagreed. They argued you do need them, especially for the emotional stuff, which otherwise feels hollow or rushed. Like the movie just cut out the middle bit to get to the action faster.
Any specific narrative criticisms? Plot holes? Messy bits?
A few things were mentioned, like the potential overlap between the Fox Deadpool origin and the MCU 616 one. The Happy Hogan scene felt a bit tacked on or messy. And using Deadpool 2's time travel just felt like a convenient mechanism to get Wolverine into this movie, maybe not fully thought through.
But the main villain, Cassandra Cain.
Big thumbs up. Called her great and legitimately unsettlingly terrifying.
Other villains seen. Pyro, Juggernaut.
Yep. Pyro, Juggernaut, noting he was played by a third, completely separate guy now, which is just, wow, Fox continuity.
And Hugh Jackman. Yeah. Clearly having a blast.
Oh, yeah, having a ton of fun. The joke about Disney bringing him back until you're 90 apparently landed really well.
Good. And the yellow suit had a reason.
Apparently so, yeah. It wasn't just thrown in. A couple of minor quibbles, though. Depender not having his accent anymore, that was distracting. And some setup around Shatterstar being gay that didn't really go anywhere.
But overall.
Overall, definitely a fun time. They also mentioned the adult X-23 showing up, referencing Hugh Jackman's reaction and how she was kind of spoiled in a trailer so the actors could go to the premiere.
Right. And comparing her to Poochie.
Yeah, like characters created just to be cooler versions of the original, maybe missing the mark slightly.
Stop wasting your time on manually editing your videos. This secret AI tool will do the work for you. One of the best things about it is that it gives your video the potential to go viral. Visit this page, sign in, create a project by clicking on this button. Choose a video that you want to use. Click on the AI clip button. Wait for the magic. It is scanning through the video and looking for the parts that has the potential to go viral. Instead of editing the video by yourself, it does the work for you. It even generates headline and captions which fit your video. Another surprise is that they generate video description or social post for you to use. Once done, click Export to Post.
So ultimately, how did they frame this movie?
As a love letter to the Fox movies, definitely. And a real send-off for Hugh Jackman. The end credits montage with bloopers and Green Day called it fucking great and surprisingly emotional after the whole journey.
So less a Logan sequel, more an epilogue.
Exactly, an epilogue to Logan. A fun, violent outlet for Wolverine after the real bummer ending of his last movie.
And should there be another Deadpool?
Debate there. One view. Don't just repeat the multiverse crossover thing, but maybe a smaller scale movie, more like the first one. That could still work.
Interesting. Okay, so that naturally led them from the new movie into looking back at the whole Fox X-Men universe, right?
Yeah, a big retrospective. Starting way back with the first X-Men from 2000, acknowledged its importance, you know, the granddaddy, the godfathers, the thing the MCU learned from mistakes from. Kevin Feige was involved even then.
Yeah, producer.
Yeah.
But they had critiques, too. The costumes.
Oh, yeah. Felt the movie was embarrassed of the costumes. All that black leather instead of, you know, colors.
And the climax.
Called it horrid. So boring. Lacked that big, fun action sequence we expect now. Though, to be fair, they did acknowledge special effects limitations of the era.
And the allegory. They saw a shift from the animated series.
Right. Animated series often felt like a racism allegory. These first three movies leaned more into a gay rights allegory, they argued.
And do you need to watch it for Deadpool and Wolverine?
Meh. Maybe slight context for Sabretooth, but definitely not essential.
Magneto.
Yeah.
McKellen praised, but...
Charismatic, yeah, but maybe too old for big action compared to Fassbender later. And they felt the character kind of devolved into mustache twirling, losing complexity.
Okay, X2. Similar feelings about the climax.
Yep, really boring again. And this is where continuity issues really started piling up for them, especially with William Stryker.
Anything positive about X2?
Wolverine's arc got praise. Seeing him become Teacher Logan, interacting with Iceman and the kids was pretty fun, though they laughed about Wolverine later claiming not to have met Iceman.
So overall, for X1 and X2...
Kinda, meh. Not bad enough to hate, not good enough to love, just fine. Enjoyable in their own way, somewhere in the middle. And again, not needed for D&W.
X3, The Last Stand. The big criticism.
Too many ideas. The Cure, Dark Phoenix, everything crammed in. They mentioned Magneto lifting the Golden Gate Bridge, joking about building versus moving it.
Kelsey Grammer as Beast got a nod, though.
Yeah, really good. But they really took issue with the movie's take on The Cure. Felt it was unfair, not getting why someone like Rogue or Beast would want it.
Interesting point. And they used Angel as an example.
Right. Blonde, blue-eyed, wings, he could easily fit conservative ideals. Made the comparison to someone like Toad seem weird within the allegory. Also, not enough cool shit like Sentinel shown.
Cyclops' small role was due to the actor leaving.
Yeah, for Superman Returns. As for watching X3 for D&W, maybe gives context for Logan being sad about Jean, but not really essential for the new movie itself.
Okay, brace yourself. X-Men Origins, Wolverine, OKA.
We don't talk about Bruno. Or just Bruno.
Had interesting ideas, but execution.
Failed. Bad adaptation of the Weapon X comic. Absolute travesty for ignoring Alpha Flight, Wolverine's Canadian team, just a loose reference in names.
And the same problem as X3.
Yep, too many ideas. Wolvie's origin, Weapon X, team assembly, Deadpool setup. Just a mess. Apparently, the hosts were more bothered by the adaptation changes, while their friends at the time were more upset about the weird Deadpool portrayal.
And the debate. Worst X-Men movie or not?
Yeah. Is it not the worst because it accidentally birthed Deadpool, since Reynolds only did it to get his own movie? Or is it the worst just on its own merits?
Do you need it for D&W?
It helps, they said, because the Deadpool movies constantly joke about it. Gives you the context for those jokes.
Right. Total shift now.
Yeah.
X-Men. First class. Big praise here.
Huge praise. Called it the best X-Men movie. Even objectively the only good X-Men movie in the Fox run. Loved the color in the uniforms, the whole look.
McAvoy and Fassbender.
Seen as better than McKellen and Stewart, yeah. The McAvoy's specific head-tilt acting choice got called the stupidest thing. Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique was fun. A good way to kind of start the story.
Needed for D&W context.
Yes. They felt it helps because of early Deadpool jokes referencing the different timelines, McAvoy versus Stewart. Good overall context for the Fox mess.
Okay, then Days of Future Past. This one got called the worst.
Yeah, or second worst after Origins. Big problem. Its entire foundation is built on a plot hole.
Pity pride's power.
Exactly. Never established she could do that time-sending thing. Should have been Rogue. They mentioned the Rogue cut exists to fix that.
Other criticism.
Beast having the exact same identical character arc as the last movie, learning to accept his mutation again for some stupid reason. Maybe the actor didn't want the makeup. And just generally messing up continuity, trying to mold the old timeline and the new timeline together. Needed for D&W. Nope.
X-Men. Apocalypse. Main issue was the look.
Yeah, don't like how Apocalypse looks. Compared him to Ivan Ooze. Ridiculous.
But otherwise...
just fine. Kind of forgettable. Although the explanation for Xavier being bald, a big psychic battle, was called maybe the funniest thing in that franchise.
Magneto's story got some praise, though.
Yeah, his family getting killed and showing his true Omega-level power made you see what he's capable of. Generally, they noted newer movies showed powers better than the muted older ones. Needed for D&W.
Yeah.
Okay, Dark Phoenix. Surprisingly, liked.
Yeah, quite like. Surprised by how much I like it. Pointing to cool scenes like gene-dusting aliens, the train
They
scene.
definitely argued it's by far not the worst X-Men movie, still giving that honor to Origins. Needed for D&W.
Nah. The Wolverine, the 2013 one. Quick thoughts.
Notable scenes, the nuclear bomb blast, the bullet train fight, considered better than Origins only because it's much simpler.
But continuity problems started here, too.
Big time. Xavier and Magneto showing up alive with powers at the end, despite X3. Never explained. Implied DOFFP would fix it, but didn't really.
Yeah.
And Wolverine losing his adamantium claws, then just getting them back. Baffling. Speculated maybe bones grew back with metal. Who knows?
Do you need it for D&W?
No. It's a really good standalone movie. Maybe helps with X3 context, but not for D&W.
Okay, but Logan, that's different.
Oh, yeah. Essential viewing. One of the movies you have to watch for D&W, called a really good movie. Finally, properly violent.
But also...
Overall, a bummer. And they hit on that recurring criticism, Logan having the exact same character arc in literally every single movie. Also, the R-rated novelty wasn't as strong after Deadpool.
Patrick Stewart is Xavier.
Great, especially the sad Dementia Charles stuff. Cool scenes mentioned, like Xavier freezing guys at X-24 fight and X-23's appearance noted.
They debated if it's even an X-Men movie.
Yeah, like does it count with just Logan and Xavier? Seemed like a lower bar than even the Deadpool movies needed to meet.
But ultimately...
a well-made movie, proof that superhero movies can be art. And for D&W prep, very much so. Essential.
Okay, last one of the Fox live-action era, The New Mutants. Introduced as the very last one before D&W. And apparently forgettable.
So forgettable, one host hadn't even heard of it. Tells you something. Premise was, kids in a facility, trying for horror.
Didn't work.
No. Obvious twist about the main girl's powers. Only connections were seeing a clip from Logan and referencing Essex Corps Mr. Sinister.
Overall verdict.
Bad movie. Tried to subvert the idea of the X-Men, but didn't earn it. Definitely don't need to have seen this to watch Deadpool. Just a sad, nothing of a movie to end the Fox run on, making D&W feel like a much better final Fox X-Men movie to end on.
Right. And then briefly, animation. X-Men 97.
Called a good show, but maybe a bad facsimile of the original.
How so?
Felt like someone's idea of what the show was, aimed at older fans, adult themes, violence, cursing not the original kids' audience. Found it not as interesting or as engaging as the original, which somehow got away with more back then. The Rogue-Magneto relationship was mentioned specifically.
Gotcha. And Legion got a brief mention as existing, but not discussed.
So any final big thoughts from them on the whole Fox saga? Just circling back to the continuity mess, the adaptation challenges, and the feeling that the newer films maybe made things worse by trying to awkwardly connect to the originals instead of just being their own thing.
Okay, so pulling it all together, what's the big picture takeaway from all this chatter in the source material?
Well, you really see the evolution of superhero movies through this one franchise, don't you? From those early kind of basic attempts in 2000, through all the tonal shifts, the reboots, ending up at something like Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, it shows what audiences might be looking for now, and it definitely highlights the hits and misses of adapting comics. When it works, like the first Deadpool, and when it really doesn't, like trying to cram too much into Origins or X3.
And Logan standing out as something different, more artistic, plus the whole continuity nightmare. It's kind of amazing.
Right. D&W seems to just embrace that mess and make it part of the joke, using the Fox history and the MCU structure as comedy fodder.
Exactly. So hopefully, listener, this breakdown helps you get a handle on the conversation around these films. We tried to pull out the key insights, the surprising bits they discussed, so you get the gist without wading through hours of content yourself. So thinking about this whole wild ride of the Fox X-Men films, ending with this big meta multiversal bang, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What does this whole saga tell us about what audiences actually want from these adaptations, and can these massive shared universes even sustain themselves?
Yeah, and where can the genre possibly go from here without just collapsing under its own complicated history? Or worse, just repeating the same mistakes it just finished making fun of. Definitely something to think about.
So today's episode is sponsored by the Spur of the Moment podcast, everybody. Come join us every Saturday, and we're going to do this. We're going to sit here. We're going to talk about the news. Time to talk about the Minecraft film.
Okay.
It looks bad. We're going to talk about movies. That new Joker movie is apparently terrible, and I want to see it so badly because I hear it's awful. And we're going to make some jokes. We're going to have some laughs.
There's a lot of funny jokes in there. There's a lot of weird jokes in there. The Channing Tatum one will always make me laugh. Especially when you hear the behind the scenes stuff, like when you hear the behind the scenes story of how they just phoned them up.
We're occasionally going to have other people along for the ride.
A really fun fact though is I learned last year that that Coraline was Leica and not Disney.
Oh, interesting. I mean, I can see why you would make that mistake. Yeah. Because it does seem like it's a different. And to be fair,
that would be a horrifying, terrible Disney movie.
It would be because yeah. And we're just gonna have a generally good time. George, do you have anything else you want to say about our podcast? Make people watch it.
We watch movies. Sometimes we watch shows, but we always have fun.
Here
on the spur. Three, 2, 1. On the spur of the podcast moment.
Yeah, we nailed it. Nailed it. Podcast. Yeah. It's Spur of the Moment podcast every Saturday. We nailed it.
You can expect awesome content like that.
We cut flawless promos every single week.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.